I don't think we've ever done this video here on my channel. If you just clicked on this and you are curious about some of these topics, first of all, hi, I'm Jessica. I'm so glad you clicked in. I do chill content like this. I do vlogs and everything in between here on my channel. I hope you subscribe, check out some of my other videos before you are done here. So I opened the door for you guys to share anything anonymously that you would just like someone's perspective on. Someone that's an outsider that doesn't know you and your family or your friends or whatever the people you're talking about is. So that's what this is for. I'm gonna offer my best sisterly advice, whether I'm could be your older sister, younger sister, or just your twin sister. Maybe we're the same age, I don't know. Let me know below, actually, I'm curious. Would I be your older sister or younger sister? I'm 36. We'll place that in there. But we're gonna get ready together as well and chat and hang out. So you may hear some topics in today's video that are a little touchy, they're a little emotional. I always wanna say, you know, I am just a person, I don't have a degree or any background in this. I have an interest in like therapy and that, but I have no background in it. So please just take my advice for what it is, just a friend giving advice to another friend. Exercise caution when taking my advice. Okay, I'm not an expert in anything, I'll say that. First though, a moment for my cutie little shirt. I love this, super inexpensive from Kohl's. Isn't this cute? I feel like it's a wearable way to wear a sweatery tank. I absolutely love it. You guys know I love like nautical stripes. So it's actually from Kohl's, which is the sponsor of today's video. I wanna show you some of the other pieces I picked up before we dive into some of these super deep topics. So Kohl's has released a bunch of their spring collection. And so this is one of their newer items. And I just think it is so cute. I feel like you can tuck it in. You could dress it up with like a long, like a midi skirt and boots. Like, wouldn't that be cute? But it's also just super comfy. I feel like oftentimes I'm wearing a top in a vlog or something and you guys will see it and ask where it's from. And I'm always so excited to share when it's from Kohl's because that means it's gonna be a lot more affordable. Plus right now Kohl's is doing their spring savings event and you can earn 2 times the Kohl's rewards. Big fan of Kohl's Cash here. I have saved so much money on not only clothes for myself, but of course clothes for the kids, things for around the house, like refresh items. So let me try on the other things. I got some cute activewear and some cute spring stuff I wanna show you. Okay, these sunglasses, I had actually heard about separate and they're from Kohl's. Like I'd heard about it on social media. Aren't these so, I feel like this style is just classic. It would go with everything. I love the gold detailing on the side. The shape of them is so perfect and they're good ones for doing that. I'm a big fan of doing that. And if it has things that catch on my hair, I'm like, I can't do it. It's gotta be good for flipping up into the head. It's from the REVAUX. Also came with this like super nice case. Love this color yellow so much. It makes me think of Belle, okay? But again, you can kind of wear it untucked. You could tuck it. This would definitely be a really cute spring top with a skirt. I feel like a white skirt would look really pretty with this, but I just love the pattern too. Very flirty. Okay, these pants are so comfy. I am such a fan, you guys know, of like olive green pants. But these are loose on the bottom. They're very, very spring coated, but they're so lightweight. I would wear these in the summer. They're just like super lightweight. I feel like in the summer, if you're not wanting to show your legs, these are them. These are them. And then this top, just like a cropped, cute little light blue top. I feel like I could put a little jacket over this or also just wear it as it is. Super comfy. Definitely does have more of a cropped feel though. So keep that in mind if you're not into that. If you wanted to go, this is probably not the top for you, but if you are, like I feel like with slightly higher waisted pants, this length of top actually works really well. I'm just obsessed with these pants though, you guys. I wish you could feel they're so stretchy. They're super comfortable. So I got some of their activewear. This is one of their like longer workout tanks, but I love that it's fitted here, but then it's slightly looser around the midsection. That is really hard to find in workout clothes. Everything is so fitted or super loose. This is like right in between. So I really went in on this color because then I got these, very similar to a really popular brand that makes pants like this that I also really like. These actually feel a little bit more lightweight and comfy to just walk around in. They have pockets, they're a good length for me, but I really went in on this color because I wanted a matching set. I feel like for travel, this set with these pants, so perfect. But they had other ones. This is from the Tech Gear brand and they had other versions of the top if you wanted a matching set but you didn't like this style that I'm about to show you. And I just feel like for an affordable matching set that would be great for travel, just for lounging around, whatever, running errands, this is the way to go. Isn't this unique? I feel like this style I've seen trending a lot more. Definitely works for spring or even just winter time, especially if you have a colder spring where you live. But I just think it is so cute and I love that I could get it matching. This color is such like a pretty orchid color. Okay. I love the piping detail. This is like one of those long line sports bra type tops. Absolutely love it. I love the white and the black. It makes me think of the movie Clueless. Anyone else? And then I needed a long sleeve, lightweight running top for like running outside in the spring. Absolutely perfect. Again, it's got that little bit of looseness that I always want. That's what I want. And this is exactly what I wanted. Perfect. Oh my gosh. I love this dress. It's so cute. I love the like little lacy detail here. And then I love the little like kind of, what do you call this style? Like kind of a corset style. And then it flares out just a bit. It comes to just above the knee. I'd probably wear like biker shorts under this just because I got kids and if I'm picking them up and stuff. Has adjustable straps, super comfortable. I just love it. So springy. So if you want to shop any of these items I tried on, like I said, I have them linked below. Again, it's an awesome time to check out Kohl's because they are having their spring savings event. So you can earn 2 times your Kohl's rewards, which is amazing. Thank you so much, Kohl's, for supporting my channel and sponsoring this video. Let's get back to the topics. So if you're not following me on Instagram, my Instagram handle is It's Jessica Braun, B-R-A-U-N. In one of my videos, whether it's an Ask Me Anything or this kind of thing, that is typically where I put those questions out. And I'm literally every single day posting on my Instagram stories and posting reels and stuff. So if you want more content, that's where to get it. I was earlier taking a minute and reading through some of these and it really did get me pretty emotional because it made me realize how much all of us are going through at all times. And there's so many unseen battles that people you're interacting with day to day, you're not seeing. Sorry, that's the elf primer. And I feel like if only we were better, and me too, I feel like if only we as humans were better at remembering that everyone, it's like that cheesy phrase, everyone's fighting their own battle, you know, but it's true. And some battles are smaller than others. Some times in your life are happier than others. But if only we could remember that, I feel like we would treat people we interact with, whether it's online or especially online, with so much more patience and understanding and love, and also treating people with nuance. All of us are nuanced creatures. Nothing in this world, period, is black and white. Well, there are a few things, but you know what I mean. So much is the gray area, and I feel like it's just so important to remember all of these things when interacting with each other. So as we talk about some of these heavier topics, please keep the comment section a positive place. You know, people were sharing some really deep, difficult problems in their life, and I want to treat that with respect as well. So I'm not including any names, of course. This is going to be anonymous. I wouldn't do you dirty like that. First entry here, wanting to move away from family and feeling guilt for moving away. This type of topic came up a lot, actually. A lot of issues people are having with their family, whether it's their in-laws or whether it's their own parents, whether it's their siblings. I feel like one of the things that isn't often talked about is adult relationships with your family and what that can look like. Because, you know, when I think of siblings, I think about, yeah, when we were kids and what that was like. But the reality is your relationship with your siblings, if you have any, can look so different as adults. And it can look different from young adulthood into older adulthood. Like that, there's so much that can change. I just feel like it's a subject that's not often talked about. But thinking towards this exact kind of scenario, I think it's healthy to know when you need to move away from your family. Now, this is coming from someone, just, you know, full disclosure, I live near most of my family, not like 5 minutes down the road, but like within 30 minutes of most of my family, with a few exceptions that I wish lived closer, like my brother. But anyway, it's important to know when you need to. And that might be because of your own trauma with your family. That might be because of just strained relationships, or because you know that you will be able to thrive and be happier for one reason or another not being near your family. I know a lot of people struggle with, especially if you like have kids and you struggle with that relationship with the grandparents or the in-law grandparents or whatever. And I can see that, like, a lot of people asking about what do I do about boundaries with my in-laws. I feel awkward saying this, or I feel awkward telling them this. One thing that's taken me a while to realize, and I would say now in my mid-30s, I finally have realized, one, there's a difference between being assertive and sharing your feelings and being downright mean. There's some people in my life I know that pride themselves on being really assertive, but I think they almost border on cruel sometimes. What's that Taylor Swift lyric? Oh yeah, so casually cruel in the name of being honest. I'm just being honest, but it's cruel, like some of the things you could say to someone. But there is a way to share your boundary with someone in your life. And I think just knowing that you will have perhaps a period after sharing that boundary, let's say with an in-law or whatever, there will be a period of awkwardness undoubtedly, but eventually that will fizzle and you've laid down the boundary and basically said, like, this is not okay with me, or I don't want you to do this with my child. I don't like it. I'm the parent. I am the one that makes the rules, I guess is what I'm saying. And of course I'm taking this into the realm of like having kids, but that's, I feel like what a lot of the questions were about. Still so good. If you're curious, any of the makeup I'm using, I'll link below. So good, this one. Back to the topic at hand. Moving away and like kind of feeling guilty for moving away. I guess my first question would be, why are you moving away? Is it because you want to, you feel that pull? Or is it because you're kind of running away from something? Is it for a job? Is it for, you know what I mean? Because your partner's family lives there and maybe that's why. There's a million reasons why you might be moving away. And I think that kind of matters. Because if you're moving away just because you want to, but you're not necessarily running from something, maybe you feel that guilt because you're like, I don't have this big need to move, but I just want to. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I can understand why there would be guilt because you'd feel like, I love my family and I feel bad leaving them, but I also know that for my own happiness and for myself, my family, my spouse, whatever, this is what I want to do with my life. This is the other thing I was gonna say. It took me forever, and I'm still reminding myself of this, to realize that I hold the reins to my life. And I feel like it took me so long because I felt like when it came to people older than me, whether it's my parents or my older siblings or whoever it was, I had to almost live up to their expectations of me. Like I was still the kid. And when I finally realized, like, I'm an adult, I'm my own whole adult, and I'm allowed to make decisions for myself, and I don't have to explain them to anyone. I can, if I want to, explain them to people, but I don't have to explain them to anyone. And I think that when you realize that, and I mean really realize that, it will completely change your life. I cannot understate that enough. It completely changed my life. And I would say it took a few months of like really realizing what that meant to be my own whole person that gets to make my own decisions for me, for my family. And I don't have to answer to anyone, and I don't have to explain decisions I make for my family. If you really feel that strong pull to move away and you know it's the right thing for you to do for whatever your reasoning, it's okay. And you're probably still gonna, if you're already feeling a little guilt, you're still gonna feel that. But you can kind of breathe in the guilt and breathe it out and just know it's gonna still be there in some capacity. But if the guilt is not enough to change your mind in moving, then you know what your decision is. And it's okay to feel some guilt with some decisions you make in life. I mean, oh my gosh, don't even get me started on mom guilt. It will live with you forever, no matter what decision you make. Do you ever use a makeup product and you're like, why do I use anything else? This one's so good. Not this brow, I'm thinking about that foundation still. This person wanted me to talk about how adult friendships are changing and feeling like they no longer understand your perspective. This is probably the most prevalent problem in adulthood if you still prioritize having friends as an adult, which I do believe you should, but I do think it is hard. There are different types of people when it comes to like adult friends. Those that still have those friends that they've had for years and years and years from high school or middle school or grade school or from college or from your first job. And then there's the ones that have friends that are more friends of convenience, whether it's friends that you work with, so they're naturally your friend, but if you moved jobs, you might kind of have that friend for a little bit, but then you'll find new friends at the new place. And I don't think there's anything wrong with any of them. And then some people have a hybrid mix. And some people have no friends. They maybe have the acquaintances from their kids' class or whatever. There's nothing wrong with any of these scenarios. And I do think we all get in our own heads about our friendships and think like, well, so-and-so has so many friends. Like, why don't I have a best friend? Why don't I have... And there's no right way of doing it. Like sometimes I think we try to force it because we feel like we're supposed to have this huge friend group because you feel like everyone else does. I'm not convinced that everyone else does, A. And it's okay to not have a best friend. It's okay to just have acquaintances. If you feel content enough in your life and in your relationship, your community, you don't have to force yourself to make friends if you're not feeling that pull. Now, if you're feeling lonely and you feel like you need community, then I do think you should step out of your comfort zone and try if you're feeling that need. Because if you're feeling that need, then you do need community. There's a reason you're feeling that. But all of that being said, I do think that it is natural as you grow up. And when I say grow up, I don't mean like growing up from like 18 to 21 to 25. I mean like throughout life, we are constantly evolving and changing. It's natural to not have the same friends all the time. It's natural to, as your friends also are growing and evolving, you kind of just naturally grow apart. Now for you, you might want to then keep going in that relationship and because you find value in it and you love that person, and I think that's amazing. But it does take work, especially if you don't do the same jobs and you don't see each other often. It's that much harder to keep the friendship alive because you have to find things to talk about and things you still have in common. And what I've learned too is creating memories with a person is such a healthy building block for friendships. They always say the worst kinds of friendships are the ones that are built on a mutual like hatred. And I think about people I've been friends with in the past where like I felt like, and I'm talking when I was much younger, where like it all started from like gossiping about someone. And then it blossomed into a friendship. But guess what? Those are not friends I still have today because that's not a strong building block for a good friendship. A good friendship is one that maybe you have something in common. Maybe you met them at something you like to do at a park or at a knitting club. I don't know. Whatever, in a book club. And you can build on that. You've got to create memories together because if you think about what a relationship really is, when you first meet someone, let's talk about like a romantic relationship. When you first meet someone, you have stuff to talk about because you're getting to know each other, but eventually you hit a point where if you don't have memories you've created together, it feels harder and harder to like build anything beyond just knowing each other. And I feel like creating memories together, whether it's like being intentional about like, let's go do something together. Let's go to Topgolf or let's go do this weird class that I heard about together. Those are the kinds of memories that I feel like can help your relationship, your friendship grow stronger versus staying stagnant. But I also do feel like it's healthy and okay that sometimes there are certain friendships you let go of because they're just really, either you feel like you're doing all the work or you just feel like, you know what? I think we've just grown apart and that's okay. It doesn't mean you have to write them off and never talk to them again. It just means you kind of, in your mind, maybe more accept that, you know, maybe this person is not, we're not like super close anymore and that's okay. Now, if you feel super sad about that, then maybe you don't want to let it fizzle and then you can make that effort. You kind of have to base it on your own feelings. But, you know, I've definitely had friendships like that in my life where I've just kind of, they fizzled. And when I look at it, I'm like, do I want to keep like making an effort, like really? And I realized, you know, it's okay. We don't have a lot in common. We're still friends. We're friendly. We'll chat every once in a while, but we don't like actively seek time to hang out together and that's okay. But adult friendships, man, like that's such a topic right there, isn't it? Being in a funk and not being able to snap out of it. I feel you. I feel you. I mean, do you guys feel that? I was in like a miniature funk this weekend and I'm literally around filming this video right now. I've been filming a vlog about how I attempt to get myself out of a funk when I am in one. So stay tuned for that one. That one's coming up. How perfect. Because I do think there are ways that you actually can get out of a funk. But I do think there's a difference between a funk and like maybe really struggling with your mental health. I have been pretty open about how after my first kid, I have 2 kids. After my first one, I definitely had postpartum depression. Got on medicine for it finally, like way too late. And it totally changed the game for me. And then with my second kid, I just didn't have it, but I at least knew what it was like, so I'd know the warning signs. I say all that to say there is a big difference between mental health struggles and being in a funk. I do think a funk can still last a little while, but you know, if you've been in what you feel like is a funk for months and months, you might consider talking to your doctor. I want to share that because I don't think it's well known. You can talk to your general practitioner doctor about this kind of stuff, and they can guide you to the right thing that you may need, whether it's to go to, you know, a mental health doctor, whatever that would look like for you or whatever. I feel like sometimes it can be intimidating when you're like, I feel like I'm struggling with this, and you're like, where do I start? Just start with your regular primary care doctor. Start there because they will help guide you, and at least that's more familiar territory for you if you have a general practitioner doctor. So I wanted to share that because that's the route I went, and I was so glad because it felt like I at least had an idea of where to start, and that was because one of my friends struggled with the same thing and told me, I just talked to my regular doctor to start. I'm like, thank you. So wanted to share that little tidbit in case you needed to hear it. Okay, my boyfriend and I want to start our life, but money is in the way. Do we start small or do we wait till we're prepared? So she said we want to start our life, and she did a wedding ring, a house, and baby, but money is in the way. First of all, thinking about wedding, your first emoji you put on it. I love some of you guys. It was such a small question box. Some of you guys were so creative in how you wrote it, which I appreciated. Remember, weddings do not have to be huge. They just don't. I've talked about this recently, so I won't go too deep into it here. But there are ways to get married without spending so much money. And if you are really feeling like we are so ready and you're just waiting years to be able to have money just for a wedding, that money is gone after that one day and you are still married just the same. So always keep that perspective in mind if money is a struggle for you and you're waiting and waiting, because if you're saving up all this money to have this, I'm not saying this person is, but you know what I mean? Just thinking about it. And you're waiting and waiting and waiting, I feel like at a certain point, you spend all that money on the wedding, and then you're like, okay, so now we need to save for our future home or a baby. Better to save for the home and or the baby, if that's what you're wanting to try for, than spend all of it on a wedding. You know, I think social media can do all of us a disservice sometimes when you see these beautiful, lavish weddings. And, you know, you have to keep in mind, a lot of people have incredibly wealthy parents that can pay for this kind of stuff and whatever, or maybe they've saved. Not all weddings are like that. In fact, I would venture to say most aren't. And anyway, I would definitely say start small. Like if you both feel so ready to start your life together, I think waiting, and I don't know how long you're talking about waiting, but waiting years and years and years, I mean, you're only getting older and life is so short. And you know what I mean? A lot of us postpone a lot of our own living. And now money is a tricky situation, obviously, but even taking the money out of it and just thinking about certain things in your life you want to do that we put off for later, for another day. And suddenly we wake up and realize, oh no, you know, a lot of us will put off like, well, I really want to do X, Y, Z when I retire. But we don't even know if we'll live long enough to retire. We're not guaranteed tomorrow, and not to be super depressing, but we're not. I mean, it's a fact of life. We're not. And on top of that, we don't know that by the time we retire, are we going to be able to walk? Are we going to be sick? Like, are we going to have physical ailments that make whatever that is that we're postponing for decades? So I'm such a huge proponent of, you know, things that you know you could maybe try to do now, do them now. You don't have to go all in and say, well, these are all these hobbies I want to do, so I'm going to try to do all of them in the same year. Start small. You know, take a class once a month or go to a meeting about whatever it is. Or if you're thinking about traveling, start doing a little research, see what's out there and think, you know, could I pull this off? Do I have PTO or time, you know, in the summer, maybe when the kids are at school, like we could actually maybe pull this off, maybe plan it, even if it's 3 years from now, and start saving a little bit. But I just feel like we all run on the assumption that we have all of this time when I don't know if I will be here tomorrow. I don't know if, you know what I'm saying? Like one of the things this morning, this workout class thing I was doing at home, she said it was the very end of the run and it was getting to that point where I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm not going to make it this last minute. And she said something like, you know, come on, come on. But she was like, you woke up being able to do this today. Ooh, it gives me the goosebumps. You woke up being able to do this today. What a blessing that is. You are not guaranteed to be able to do this tomorrow or in 2 years or in 3 years. So anyway, it gives me chills every time she says that a lot. And it always gives me chills. And I just feel like there's so much truth to that. So I know that didn't perfectly answer that scenario's question, but I think start small. That's my advice. Girl, yes. Why do people think just because you stay home, there's no hard work? Right. I'm not even a full-time stay-at-home mom. I'm not. This is my job. So I do this multiple days a week, and then I also am at home. So my experience aside, there is nothing more infuriating than anyone telling someone that their life is easy because XYZ. And people say it in all directions. It definitely, I do feel like stay-at-home parents get it the most, where it's like, oh, must be great just being at home. Oh, you can just do whatever. On a Tuesday, you could go and be at a park with your kids and I'm stuck at work. But then you get it the other way around. Like, boy, it would be really nice to get a break from my kids. And, you know, it must be nice to be able to just have someone else watch your kids and you get to go to work. But then that person that's at work is like, but I hate my job, or that, like, we can't win, and we've just got to stop. Like, the judgment of what people do with their time, how they make money or don't, what their childcare situation is like. Oh my gosh, it is so exhausting. I mean, are you guys just not exhausted by it all? Like, we've just got to stop. It's not benefiting anyone, the judgment on either side. And it all stems from the fact that no matter what choice you make, you will feel some level of guilt. Like, even me working a couple days a week, I feel a level of guilt, but I also know that this is part of our family's income. Like, to be able to have our house and have this is part of our income. Like, I have to do this, and I also love doing it. But my point is, we'll always feel some level of guilt no matter what you do. My point is, it really does go in all directions, and it is so exhausting, and I wish people would come off it, but they just won't. And I really do feel like it stems from everyone has their own guilt level with whatever decision they made. And so then it feels good to judge someone else for doing it the opposite way because you feel a little bit of a level of guilt about XYZ. I guess it's just human nature, but I think if we could just remember, we're all just out here doing our best. You know what I mean? We all have good intentions. I would like to think most of us do genuinely have good intentions. And so what do you guys think? I mean, do you feel that judgment based on your situation in life, whether you work from home, whether you're a stay-at-home parent, whether you're a whatever? I hear a lot of, actually, I wanted to read this one, thinking about gender roles. Just so you know, if you are new here, Tyler, my husband, and I both really do split duties with the kids pretty 50-50. It's just always how we've done it. It's just how we both love to cook. So we both will cook dinner and trade off. We both will do bath time with the kids. We both will, you know, play with the kids, all that stuff. And then also just with the house, we both do dishes. I generally do the laundry, but he'll do, like, that's my trade-off for, like, he'll do yard work and things that I don't want to do. So anyway, my point is we really do split roles. And the first few years, I definitely would almost feel embarrassed for people to find that out because there was the judgment I felt that there was the judgment on me that I was a failure because I couldn't do all of these things that I knew other people were, like other moms were, other women were, whatever you want to call it. And I know it's so antiquated and silly to think this way, but a lot of us, like, it was just kind of the way we were raised. It's what we saw in our own parents. So how do you handle Tyler doing a lot of things around the house? I feel like I'm failing. Yes, I feel like I'm failing if my husband takes on roles I should be doing, and I don't know how to accept his help. I think you that sent this in, I think this is really common and you are not alone in the way you're feeling. And we all know in our mind, but when you're around people in your life that do live maybe with the more old school ways of doing things, and again, there's nothing wrong with that either. Of course there's not. But I think you almost feel like that judgment because you're like I'd be thinking, well, why is it that my sister is able to do all of these things and blah, 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 but I get help from my husband? Like, does that make me a terrible wife or a terrible mom or a terrible homemaker, whatever you call it? And we know the answer. We know it's not, but it's so funny. You can't change your brain when it's so wired in there. It is so hard to change your viewpoint on that kind of thing. So I feel you, and I still will struggle with this from time to time. I even told Tyler the other day, I'm like, dude, when we have people over, he loves to cook as well. And a lot of times he'll take over all of the food. And I'm like, I think people think I don't know how to cook because, and for me, I'm like, I feel embarrassed. I'm like, no, I swear I'm a really good cook too. Like, let me make some of this meal so I can show my family or show our friends that I also know how to cook, because I feel like it makes it look like I'm just sitting on my tuchus, letting him do all that kind of work. And anyway, I know it's silly, but it's just the way I feel because of the way that I was raised. But it's kind of cute too, because I'll look at my parents and I know that the way I was raised was, you know, my mom stayed at home until all of us were in school, and then she started actually working in a school. And my dad was the breadwinner. He went to work every day, etc. And it was a very traditional way of living, you know, the way of growing up. So it's very much ingrained in my head. And I bring that up to say, it's so cute because my parents, now my dad does cook and he never used to. And he has changed our kids' diapers and helped babysit them. And so much has changed, and it's kind of beautiful to watch my parents that are from that generation kind of blossom and grow, and they both grocery shop together, and they like it's just so different. And I think it's beautiful because it's easy to think that people from a certain generation can't change. And I know a lot of you guys watching this are from the same generation my parents are from. I'm curious your thoughts and your perspective on this, while being respectful, please. Because I do think that, you know, I don't know, we all have our own way of living, and it doesn't mean that one's way of living is necessarily right and the other's is wrong. But it is hard, I feel you, to get rid of the guilt in your own head. And it's hard to accept the help when you feel like it's supposed to be your responsibility, when you know it's not, you know? In your heart, you know it's not. Oh my gosh. Husband is going after his dream job, and I'm almost resentful because I'm a working mom who has always let him chase his career while I took a boring job for stability, insurance, etc. I'm hoping after this job move, he's happy and passionate about something. How do I be a supportive wife, but also explain my need to find something new and that I enjoy? I feel like I'm wasting my best years being stuck. Oh, that feels like a dagger to my heart. Thank you for sharing that. If your husband loves you, he will understand what you are saying to him. And I think the way you just explained it was actually pretty respectful. I feel like if you sat him down and kind of made it very intentional the way you sit down to talk, that he's gonna see that this is something you have thought about that is so serious to you, and just explain like, and I know this is easier said than done, okay? But if your husband loves you, he will understand what you're telling him, that you are feeling in your soul unfulfilled and that you need something. And I feel like anyone, if someone, gosh, even just a friend of mine, if they sat me down and told me that, like, that is a very raw feeling that you're feeling. And I saw this thing recently that resentment is one of the worst things that can happen in a relationship, because it can build and build and build and build. And until something is done about it, it gets so much worse, and resentment can lead to a lot worse problems in a relationship. So I think before it builds anymore, you do have to have this conversation. And my guess is you have brought this up to him in one way or another. But I think the really, really serious level of a conversation needs to be had. Like, this is not working for me, and I can't move forward. I can't get past this until we do something or make a change. That's where I would start. Because truly, when I hear anyone say they're starting to resent something, what did I see the other day? It was like a TikTok, and it was someone that actually does know what they're talking about, not me. And they were basically saying like the biggest indicator in like couples counseling is when you see that someone resents someone else, because that is the biggest indicator towards like level divorce. I'm not saying this about your relationship, but you know what I mean? Divorce rates, like I have witnessed someone I know very well have resentment build up for decades. And I know where that led, and it was not pretty. And so I think having these really, really awkward or conversations that can maybe lead to some arguing, but maybe healthy arguing, is important, because you're not going to be able to move forward, and this is only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. So I'll pray for you for that, because that is really, really tricky. Realizing I'm not finishing getting ready. What am I doing? What Let's do one more. My dad is engaged to someone my sister and I don't approve of. Do I invite her to my wedding? I don't know. I guess I would ask first, what is it about her you don't approve of? Or what is it about the relationship? Because I do think that makes a difference. If it's just you don't really like her, you know, might be one of those things that if you care about your dad and you really want him there, might be one of those things you grin and bear it. But if it's deeper reasons like the way the relationship started, or I'm just thinking of things like, you know what I mean, then that might be different. And maybe, you know, if it's like, maybe you don't. And you could always leave it up to your dad. Like, and that's the other question. Like, does your dad know how you feel about this person? Because you could give your dad a +1 and, well, but who else would he invite, right? Like, of course it's going to be. But I guess that's my other question. Does your dad know how you feel about this person? Because then he might even ask you, like, do you want her there? And maybe if you guys share your thoughts, like, we really don't. I mean, if it's really important to you to have her there, then okay. Because then he might kind of read the room and be like, okay, maybe I'll leave her out of this. Also, I would ask, how long have they been together? Like, is it new? If it's pretty new, I would say you have no obligation to invite them, because weddings are expensive. You know, typically you're paying per head. And I don't think that with a new relationship, you are obligated to invite. Now, if she's been around for years, I'm just curious about this situation. And I feel like that's probably a situation, not specifically the wedding thing necessarily. Well, maybe, but just, you know, there's so many parents that are divorced and then they find someone new. And I'm so curious about, you know, what that looks like in life, because, you know, divorce is around all of us. And some of you guys may be divorced yourselves. And it's something to think about, even that perspective. If you have kids of your own and you're divorced, like thinking about if you get involved with a new person, especially as you're grown and maybe your own kids become grown, what does that look like to them? And think about their perspective when it does come to things like inviting to weddings and what their relationship with this new person is. So yeah, I think it would just depend on why don't you approve of her? And at the end of the day, it's your or your sister's wedding. You get to have the final say, period. You know what I mean? Like, you get to have the final say. It's your day. All right. I guess I should put something on my lips. I hope you guys enjoyed this style of video. If you did, let me know. Perhaps this is something we can do more regularly. I mean, I should say I do this style of video like chatty get ready with me's every month, sometimes more than once. But like this kind of ask Jess, sisterly advice, whatever I end up calling this video. If you like this particular genre, let me know by giving this video a thumbs up. Comment below with your feelings on any of these topics. Again, please be respectful. I feel like some of these topics could venture into certain waters that maybe lead to disagreements. It's okay to disagree, right? Like, we don't have to hate each other just because we don't agree on certain topics. So I hope you subscribe, like I said. Thank you again to Kohl's for sponsoring this video. If you want to check out any of the pieces, including this cute top that I showed and tried on in today's video, I will link all of them below, including all my sizing information, if that is helpful to you, if you're thinking about purchasing one of these items. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, friends.